let's start reading some secret reports. Just for fun, because I did not read them before, and I would like to know the secrets. As in common knowledge, all games in the UG take place under our supervisor. However, this particular game is saddled with a nigh unbelievable set of extenuating circumstances, catching the attention of the higher plane. Thus, I shall be taking a more hands-on role this time, as detailed in this report. The core difference in this game are as follows. Its role and plans for Shibuya's destruction, the composer's absence from the UG, the resulting limitations to his powers, and the game being played by a proxy. Neku's a proxy, I guess that's why Josh wasn't like a god during that. Obviously he wasn't there, and then, you know, there was a big stake thing. The composer has informed me of two major points, that he plans to destroy the UG, but also that his final decision will hinge on the outcome of his game with the conductor. A provisional rule for the game requires the composer to vacate the underground. It is unprecedented for the composer to be absent during a game. I cannot predict what effect it may have. Furthermore, the composer must lower the frequency of his vibe to travel from the UG to the RG, inevitably curtailing his abilities. His vibe? This makes investigating the conductor and his strategy incredibly difficult, as the composer is still the only one who knows who and what I am. Wait. The conductor, okay. I got conductor and composer confused for a minute. It means lingering in the UG is, to author reports, carries a lethal risk. The greatest randomizer in the current game is the use of a hand-picked proxy to compete against the conductor in the composer's stead. No information on this person exists at present. While the situation seems dire, I believe the key to getting ahead of all of this is at hand. You see, time always builds upon the past. I've already located our key. It is a pin request from the conductor. Normally, the psychic manifestations of pins are determined by one's imagination. Thus, by analyzing the pin, the user's imagination, or rather their true intentions, are revealed. Unfortunately, this order came through the composer and never came into contact with the conductor. Thus, I could not use it to determine the nature of his imagination. Psych manifest... okay. I too have lowered my vibe to tune into the UG, limiting my abilities. However, at this stage, realizing that this pin holds the key is sufficient. The possibility of forestalling the plan for the UG's destruction remains. Let's read one more. I also would like to get a drink. That's a lot of words. Much better. As the game was set to end, I felt an intense burst of soul, and at its source, I found the composer's handpicked proxy, one Neku Sakuraba. Let it be noted that once danger was past, the soul is expelled rapidly, tapered off. The soul he expelled. We're getting like a lot of weird things. Soul, imagination, vibes. I shall define soul as it exists in the UG later. For now, let it suffice to say it is the energy he bears within him. Is that my like Esper powers? His unstable soul is a result of a rift between his body and emotional mind. This discord can be traced to a few causes: his dense and all-inclusive soul composition, emotional confusion inhibiting the unity of his emotional self and physical body, and the exacerbation of that confusion by memory loss due to his entry fee. However, anyone possessing such diverse soul can become a formidable wielder of imagination. The composer was right to choose this boy. Shibuya's fate may rest on how well he manages to stabilize his soul. To measure his stability, I gave him a harmonizer pin. It can only be used when he cooperates with his partner. Okay, that's the white pin. And also, kind of gives away who's writing this. Synchronizing with another hinges on his ability to first stabilize his own soul. Thus, successful use of the pin would indicate he has made progress on that front. The further he is able to push his and his partner's psych resonance through fusion, the greater his own internal stability will have become. The progress of his soul merits close observation henceforth. Let's, I'm gonna finish a week and then... Oh, I started a chapter! No! It doesn't matter because I can still go to Pork City. But I guess I'm gonna have to, whatever. Very upsetting. because I have to just skip through all this and then go back to chapter select. I mean, I guess I can still just read the chapters, the secret reports. I got carried away. Allow me to redefine the composer's role. As I continue to observe the game's progress, I have a clear view of the enormous effect of the composer's absence. A clear definition of his duties are key to understanding the extent of this disruption. The composer holds absolute authority over the underground. By authority, I mean the right to determine rules. He's the only one who can change the composition of the UG, and sole creator of this Shibuya. The underground Shibuya is created and organized by the composer's rules, which pit players against Reapers in a struggle for survival. A new composer only arises when the previous one is defeated. The victor takes the victim's place. At this juncture, the new composer rewrites the rules of UG Shibuya. However, there being no composer at all is a different situation. It means the rules that make up the UG are invalid. In other words, without a composer, the underground collapses. However, the composer's absence is still a secret. At present, only 3 people know: the composer himself, his opponent the conductor, and the producer, me. Alright, so yeah, no one else really knew about that stuff, so that makes sense. The producer's role is that of guardian over the game. For observation purposes, he must sometimes descend from the higher plane to the underground. While the producer is natively an entity from the higher plane, he can adjust the frequency of his vibe to visit the UG in lower plane. Think of a radio. Going from station A to station UG simply requires turning into a different frequency. The producer has the power to contact any and all beings in the underground. However, he is strictly prohibited from revealing his identity in the UG. His existence endangers the stability of the rules and balance of the UG and RG, thus the producer's identity must stay secret from Reapers and players, not to mention those in the RG. He may freely contact only one person as the producer, and that is the composer. He's allowed to do that? Oh, wait, no, the, producer, he's talking about the producer. The producer can only contact the composer. What does that mean for talking to us, though? The UG exists as a separate plane where the composer can judge the worth of man. Within it are the Reapers and human players. It is infeasible for the composer to judge all of humanity by himself, so a filtering system utilizes the Reaper was created, the Reapers games. Reapers act as a test, weeding out unfit players. Upon becoming a Reaper, one's physical body changes, gaining incredible strength and an extended lifespan. As Reaper, the player... Ooh, I bopped my controller. As Reaper and player alike progress through the game, engaging in imagination-driven combat, their soul is refined. Soul is abstract matter revealed through our research into life and death, and a component in the makeup of the atmosphere, humans, will, thought, all phenomenon. As Reapers execute the game, they undergo a process of evolution from grunts to officers to composers. That seems like that's more of a class system, but whatever. Not really evolution, more like promotion. However, Reapers that follow the ideal route are rare, and most are erased by players. Reaper or player, those erased within the game disperse the mind and spirit housed within their flesh in the form of soul. Thus they are erased only from visible existence. Their soul persists in the UG till gathered and tied together according to a new code. This new code is essentially imagination. Given sufficient imagination, any form is possible, be it a pin or a Reaper. That's, I guess, how rhyme was turned into a pen. Variations in this code cause the soul to manifest in different forms. In other words, humans, Reapers, and Noise are all entities formed of soul. The only difference is their code. And what are Noise? Entities without conscious will, only the drive to multiply. Thus, they constantly thirst for soul, attacking players and possessing humans in the real ground. Soul consumed by Noise is destroyed, even if the Noise is erased. Alright, wait, no. What does that mean for Rhyme then? Because I guess Rhyme being killed by the Noise doesn't count as the soul being consumed? Thus, possessed humans often exhibit a rush of euphoria immediately after the Noise is removed. Though untested, the same would likely hold where a player or Reaper possessed. We're almost done with this day and then we'll... I didn't even mean to do that, I just didn't think that I hit the day. I hate it. This isn't even gonna help me either, going into the menu. I'm very upset. I just want to read the reports. And I can't, like, pause this either, so I have to go through this bit. As I accidentally go through days. It's very upsetting. Alright, so this is the day I need it, right? The real ground and underground are planes of existence as other planes exist as well, the ones uninhabited solely by the noise, for example, or our customary plane. The planes are stacked in parallel, though each exists at a different frequency vibe in tune with its inhabitants. Observing a lower plane from a higher plane is simple. Actually, transplanar contact, while possible, is highly complex. The vibes of adjacent planes are closer, making passage between them comparatively easier. More distant planes show greater differences in vibe frequencies, and thus communion becomes more difficult. The UG exists just above the RG, allowing those in the UG to observe the RG, but not vice versa. It makes sense. It's like fourth dimension, third dimension, and whatnot. Noise exists on the special plane that straddles both the RG and UG. That's the like weird mindscape that Neku can go into, enabling their interference in the affairs of both. When players come into contact with noise, they are drawn into the noise plane. In other words, players are forcibly tuned into the noise plane. Conversely, there exists an even higher plane than the RG and UG. That is where I am from, the plane of the angels. Okay. As in, the RG and UG angels have created a web of social schema to guide their activities. The role of producer is just one cog in the angel machine. Angel vibes are extremely high, so as producer he is an angel. Angel vibes are extremely high frequency, not even the composer can catch them all. So he is stronger than the composer. In actuality, he can pick up only that of the producer. Okay. As you can see, interplanar contact is beset by difficulty, but certain modes do exist for its realization. One is the modulator decal. Within its area of effect, players from the UG can manifest visibly in the RG and communicate with others there. That's the skull symbol tag. Reapers and composers can down-tune their vibes at will near these decals. However, even their vibes will be forcibly adjusted to the lower frequency. Another mode, imprinting, requires no physical manifestation in the RG. Imprintees experience the conferred thoughts as bursts of inspiration. The memes! We're talking about memes now! The reliability of these communiques thus depends upon the person receiving it. For example, successful communication with preoccupied people is unlikely. Furthermore, recipient interpretation of said inspiration colors the message, making imprinting unreliable at best. Reaper Creeper was created as a mode of popular communication between the planes. Modulating paralogos printed on paper allow for limited UG interaction with real ground objects. As those in the RG are unaware of players, they perceive the illusion of a coin moving by itself. Whatever, that's boring. I want to know more about the angel stuff. I receive periodic communication from the composer. While we maintain contact, I am prohibited from providing him with information for risk of unbalancing the game. I am permitted only to respond to his commissions for certain items, and even then, am able only to create and deliver said items. The composer has requested increased phone functionality for use in the next game. So that was when Josh was like, yo, can you make the phone super sick? Today, the proxy's partner, one Shiki Mizaki, freed herself from her defining value, envy. With this, the composer is convinced of the proxy's victory on the 7th day. His confidence arises because the proxy's intervention was indispensable in causing his partner's growth. It signals the proxy's departure from his obsessive self-actualization loop. Previously, even the composer was unsure of his proxy's capacity for growth. I would imagine that the end point where Josh was like, Josh technically won, but he didn't destroy Shibuya was based on whether or not Neku grew as a person. And I don't know if him not shooting Josh was like the final test, but that seems to be kind of the case here. Normally, the composer possesses a certain degree of clairvoyant foresight. His current downtuned state, however, limits his ability, clouding this super-temporal vision. Though able to observe the UG from the real ground, he is otherwise saddled with limitations. For one, his outward appearance. He looks younger than he would at full vibe frequency within the UG. Fortunately, this prevents the Reapers from recognizing him as the composer. How did Mathman recognize him though? To begin with, the composer contacts Reapers only through the conductor, so most are unaware of what he looks like. Additionally, as the being in the underground with the highest vibe, some lesser Reapers are incapable of perceiving him. The effects of downtuning occurs because the composer's vibes and RG's frequencies are substantially different. Did that ever really happen where they couldn't perceive Joshua? I don't remember. For Reapers, the down-tuning necessary to exist in the RG is significantly less, and thus affects less prominent changes. That said, it depends on the Reaper. At any rate, the effect is minimal, making Reapers much more frequent visitors to the real ground. Providing they complete their duties, Reapers may do as they wish in the real ground within certain accepted boundaries, and that's why they're able to kind of be like real people, but also have to deal with that stuff like 777. As the composer predicted, the proxy has won the game. So what happens to those who survive the week? Those whose imagination is less than outstanding are broken down in the soul, while those with excellent imagination become Reapers. The most talented of these may travel to the next plane, inhabited by us angels. So someone really good can be an angel. Diligent Reapers too may pass through the office of composer to ascend to the plane of angels. The office of composer. Does that mean the composer can become an angel, or does that mean that a Reaper can become an angel by talking to the composer? Now a what if? This may sound odd, but one may also choose to be reincarnated. Well, the word reincarnation is not quite accurate, for the humans of the UG are not truly dead. They merely possess different soul code and have been turned into a different plane. We angels do not consider it a loss if a talented player elects to return to the real ground, as their superior imagination will inspire other humans. Upon returning to life, the exceptional player's creative activities soon make their mark upon society. His art, music, and other output becomes a part of culture, spreading and persisting through time, refining people's imagination even without personal contact with the player. Certainly this requires time, but no one has ever accused angels of being in a hurry. The composer's absence during this particular game, however, means the reincarnation is not an option. Only the composer possesses the level of imagination necessary to reincarnate. It is beyond the conductor's means. The conductor continues to act as if the composer were present, but this farce can only continue for so long. I will be watching with great curiosity to see how the conductor responds once his ruse unravels. As I was busy writing reports, the boy in my custody beat went missing. I wonder if Shiki really was the thing that Neku had to give up, or if it was simply because the conductor couldn't do anything with Shiki, so it was an excuse. B had expressed curiosity in how noise was created. Perhaps he plans to ask a Reaper, but even without specific instructions from them, he has the ability now. I gave him a pen filled with the special imagination required to create noise, and imprinted him with instructions for its use. This does not qualify as interference in the game. Sure it doesn't. The information I gave him will have no impact on the game's results. Sure it didn't. It was merely a token of my esteem for his unflinching passion towards what he holds dear. Whether he uses this power and how is completely up to him. I think I'm gonna just continue reading these, because I don't want to accidentally hit a chapter select and have to go through the tower again. As predicted by the composer, his proxy has entered the game a second time. The proxy has proven his aptitude and will be joining in the next game by the composer himself as his new partner. There are 3 reasons behind the composer's choice of actions: to ascertain the conductor's strategy, to educate his proxy, and to protect him. With his return to the UG, the limits of the composer's abilities will be relaxed. However, using his abilities could reveal his identity, which is why he wasn't using his super beam until that moment where I guess he needed to. As such, he will need to continue to limit himself for a while longer. This presents a certain set of risks. The greatest risk, however, lies with the composer joining the proxy for this game. The composer's presence, his tremendously high vibe, will place a great deal of physical and psychological strain on the proxy. Don't remember that really happening besides when Neku was trying to read his mind. Furthermore, the proxy's victory in the previous game has won him back his memory. The self-actualization loop binding the proxy is thus stronger than ever, more deeply ensconced even than the envy cleared from Shiki in the previous game. I guess that loop was supposed to be like when Josh was kind of not a fun partner for Neku to have? I don't know. There's a possibility of the proxy's soul destabilizing, negating its progress during the previous game. That's because I couldn't get the sync up very well because I'm bad at doing Josh's attacks. Slight problem also persists with the proxy's personality. How long will the proxy be able to bear being side by side with the composer? 7 days, at least. Today an alert was handed down, the discovery of a fallen angel. Okay. Fallen angel is one who has broken the angel's code, a criminal. Their crime revealing the secrets of Taboo Noise Refinery to the game master, Minamoto. Minamoto knows the composer's RG identity, secret even to the conductor, and has chased him to the real ground. The fallen angel may also have supplied him with this information. Minamoto lusts to take the composer's place, and his potential to do so comes second only to that of the conductor. Despite being a complete outsider in the wager between composer and conductor, he stands to hinder the composer greatly. It is entirely possible Minamoto may rise to the office of conductor before the wager has been decided. All eyes from the higher plane are on the game for the future of Shibuya. Should its results be invalidated by outside interference, the angel's disappointment would be vast. So, what is this fallen angel's goal? Dominion over the underground? Retribution against the angels? Whatever the case, we must carefully monitor Minamoto's actions and stay vigilant against the fallen angel. So that's how he knew how to make the taboo noise, which we don't really know what that means, besides their taboo. I was finally able to hand over the phone tracking application the composer requested some time back. I informed the composer it was ready 3 days ago, but they apparently had no time to come pick it up. It just shows how carefully the proxy is planning each move. The application detects the conductor's imagination. With it, one can walk around Shibuya and piece together the conductor's strategy. At this point, even I cannot fathom the conductor's plan. I will have to rely on the information gathered by the composer. While I wait for his findings, I will work on the composer's next order, a second revision to the phone's functionality. Today also marks my first contact with the proxy since he formed a pact with the composer. He appears considerably wary of his partner at present time. As expected, the psychological strain is severe, so severe in fact that most players would be unable to continue. Right now, the only thing keeping the proxy in the game is his entry fee. At least his dangerously strained state of mind is acting to heighten his soul. I saw no sign of relapse or destabilization. Rather, the return of his memories seems to have yielded only positives. Really wish I could use the analog stick to continue moving this. I look forward to watching the proxy's continued growth. Oh! Right, okay, so the first phone thing was the scanner, and that was just finding the conductor? I don't know why Josh would need to find him in the Shibuya River. Seems kind of weird. But I guess any, like, mark of him was around, I don't know. Maybe in case the conductor was hiding somewhere. The composer reports indicate rough going in his investigation. I suspect the limits upon his abilities. Meanwhile, Minamoto has not issued any missions. The Reaper elites must be alarmed as well. Perhaps this is more of the Fallen Angel's influence. As I've stated, Minamoto is suspected of a liaison with the Fallen Angel. The Fallen Angel may have chosen Minamoto for a few reasons. First, none desired the composer's office more. Minamoto's obsession was great enough to compel him to pursue the composer into the real ground. Unlike simple Reapers, however, the composer's power are not lost in the RG. I can just imagine the shock dawning on Minamoto's face as I write this. Yes, the composer must down-tune to the frequency of the real ground, limiting his powers. However, he is still super strong. Minamoto is in the same boat. As a result, the difference in their abilities remains unchanged. Thus, the assassination attempt failed. While Minamoto's effort were fruitless, I can't talk, they serve as ample proof of his conviction. The second reason the Fallen Angel may have targeted him is his lack of loyalty to the Reaper's organization and his preference for solo action. His willingness to use a taboo noise, probably. His distaste for cooperation meant a little chance of him revealing the Fallen Angel's presence. The third reason is his consistently unconventional aesthetic. His bizarre actions regularly cause confusion among those around him. Even the Fallen Angels were to urge him to do something out of the ordinary, that would be ordinary to him. No one would suspect a thing. So it makes sense for him to act out. This is why he is an ideal target for the Fallen Angel, to work his agenda without raising suspicion. At least it seems a logical conclusion. The question now is, why has Minamoto abandoned the game? And what is he doing? I suspect that his only current objective is to take out the composer. If so, he is likely preparing for the 7th day and his opportunity to confront the player. Just what did the Fallen Angel tell Minamoto? Perhaps no one will ever know. Maybe we'll know. Proxy feels an affection for the art of the designer Cat, myself. I wonder who it is! I mean, again, it wasn't really that much of a surprise after the second report, but As he was picked by the composer, this is hardly coincidence, it was an inevitability. Cat's creative works are embedded with command codes. His art acts as a medium for mass imprinting. The imprinting players use works only on an individual basis. However, through art, one can affect anyone who comes into contact with the work. I wonder if that's how pins kind of work. I build my art with 2 command codes. The first is enjoy the moment more. This strengthens the imagination. The proxy received this signal loud and clear, though past trauma precludes him from responding accordingly. Past trauma. The second code, gather, calls to those with strong imaginations, hence the inevitability. Why wouldn't the composer find his worthy proxy standing in front of my graffiti? A single reason exists for rigging my art in this way. The creation of the future requires imagination. My art is widely accepted in Shibuya. This proves that those with imaginations sufficient to create the future are gathering in the area. Shibuya's future is looking very bright. Except for this game that could end that, but whatever. Maybe he just sees that Neku as a proxy is making this game have hope for Shibuya. I have finished revision 2 of the phone tracking app, which allows it to detect the Shibuya River. The composer aims to use this device to convey the river's location to the proxy. So, what's the point? I guess, like, the point is just to, like, have an excuse. It's like a fake reason for Josh to say, I know where we're going, even though he already knows, so that makes sense. For passing knowledge along, the composer needed to understand the conductor's plan. As of yesterday, he felt confident in his hypothesis. The composer had encountered red skull pins everywhere the detector had led. The same pins I created as the conductor's behest on the first day. As I suspected, they form a prime piece of his strategy. The imagination he has filled those pins with is the same as that in the player pin, imprinting. They are set apart, however, by a single major difference. Hate! The red skull pins are made to imprint targets with the conductor's will. Anyone wearing the red skull pin is dominated by the conductor's mind. I wonder if anything would happen if I put that pin on during, like, the last fight. Probably not, right? The further the pins spread, the more people he controls. However, the red skull pins have penetrated less than half of Shibuya's real ground population in the last 2 weeks. At this rate, the conductor's strategy will end in failure. How does he intend to penetrate the rest of Shibuya? I will be monitoring his actions closely. I mean, I assume that that was part of his plan with making us make the red pin popular, but that's not really part of this day, is it? The final day's mission came from the conductor, eliminate Minamoto. Unexpected as it was, tension ran high. The composer's quick thinking saved the day. In the end, all went according to his plan, and he successfully guided the proxy to the next game. His solution entailed first defeating Minamoto, thereby ensuring the proxy's victory. Secondly, the composer pretended to be erased by Minamoto while shielding the proxy. To accomplish this, he fled to a parallel world just before Minamoto's final attack connected. The proxy survived the game alone, but was again unable to elect reincarnation due to the composer's illegal participation in the game. For better or worse, the game between the composer and conductor concludes in 1 week's time. The conductor's strategy may end in failure, but we will see. I need to keep a close eye on his future actions. All I can do is wait for the composer to inform me of which parallel world he escaped to. Why would he inform you? Alright, we're getting close to done. Forgive me, but I do find this interesting. Especially because there was a lot kind of left up in the air by the end of the game. I began patrolling Shibuya in pursuit of the conductor's strategy. While in Uragawa, I spotted Minamoto's taboo noise refinery sigil. Several types of these sigils exist in various categories, which we of the higher plane have classified. Not all of them, however, will work in the UGs. Vibe frequency is simply too low for them to translate properly. I need a drink. I was dying during that last sentence. Much better now. The sigil Minamoto drew was one of these indecodable types. Was that a mistake on the Fallen Angel's part, or was it a transcription error by Minamoto? Either way, with that design, he stands a little chance of reviving himself. However, Minamoto is driven, and his imagination strong. Perhaps strong enough to make a tapu signal work, even in the underground. If so, the specific results would be impossible to predict. Anything that might interfere with the composer and conductor's wager is to be avoided at any cost. I will personally neutralize Minamoto's sigil. Angels may not interfere in the Reaper's games, but this contest will decide Shibuya's future. The higher plane cannot idly stand by. Meanwhile, the conductor has dealt a preemptive blow. The starting player count in this final game is 1. I cannot be certain whether the conductor knows that Neku Sakuraba is the proxy. This severe restriction in the number of entrants ensures player erasure. In this flagrant abuse of his privilege, he has eliminated the threat of the proxy. With the composer in a parallel world, the proxy's position is perilous. Still, as producer, I am bound by the rules. I can offer him no help. All I can do is guide him to the Shibuya River. Call it luck or fate, even by himself the proxy has managed to form a pact. He's partnered to Beat, now a Reaper, who is himself fixated on reaching the river. As such, guiding the proxy will require little work on my part. Still, I haven't uncovered the conductor's strategy for this final week. I can't afford to relax quite yet. I think I know what the conductor's strategy was. It was to make Neku not have a partner so he would die really easily. So now he has to come up with a new strategy. The conductor has used Beat's betrayal as an excuse to issue an emergency call. With it, the composer's rules over the UG are essentially suspended. After weeks of concealing the composer's absence, the conductor finally has absolute authority. At the same time, he's made Red Skull pins mandatory for all Reapers. And that was part of his final plan to make that work. Now most of Shibuya has a Red Skull pin. The stage has been set for the conductor's counterattack. Furthermore, he's cordoned off each area in the UG with walls. I could leave the UG, elevate my vibe, and pass through them quite easily. But to what end? I am bound to UG, and thus my hands are tied. I cannot reach the composer, nor do I know in which parallel world he's hiding. For now, all I can do is use my second sight to watch the game's progress. I didn't really mention it, but I mean, so we know that Josh is hiding in the 10-pin slammer world. The Another Day world, right? Watch the game's progress with second sight. But I guess I don't know why he, or when he eventually decides that, yeah, I guess I'm done with that and I'm gonna show up. Rather than I guess when the timer was done, it's like he might as well come and say game's over, bro. Rather than head to the Shibuya River, the proxy has begun wandering the streets, apparently in pursuit of the Game Master. Kanishi, this round's Game Master, seems mainly interested in saving her own skin. She appears a loyal follower of the conductor, but the appearance of a promising candidate for composer would quickly change her tune. At this point, she has been working hard to recover the conductor's trust after her slip the first day. She has issued a single 6-day mission, one that exploits Beat's greatest weakness, rhyme. Her plan is to panic the pair into committing some fatal error while keeping watch from her front row seat within Beat's shadow. This serves both to restore her standing with the conductor and to avenge the blow to her pride. Beat's greatest desire is to bring her back to life. Even if revived though, Rhyme still lost the game. Her entry fee is non-refundable. I do not know what the girl's entry fee was, but a life without it, the thing she held most dear, would be filled with grief and hardship. But is the void in one's heart caused by loss never filled? I think it can be. It may take time, but something else will come along to fill that empty space, so long as one enjoys the present. In other words, we need more in the loss of that which we hold dear, if only more people realize this. The composer did not impose the entry fee upon players to cause them anguish. In experiencing life without the things one most values, players are forced to re-examine just how crucial those things really are. The hope is that by the close of the game, players will be able to take a hard look at themselves and be able to take on the future with a new outlook on life. The entry fee exists to force players to see the truth about themselves. It is a test posed by the composer to spur players' self-enlightenment. That makes sense and worked well with Shiki. I feel like Neku losing his memory wasn't exactly a good learning experience though. The conductor has begun his work with the Red Skull pins. By bringing Shibuya's collective consciousness in line with his own, he hopes to accomplish his goal of rebuilding Shibuya. The conductor's zeal is unparalleled among Reapers. His strong presence was central to the composer's ability to govern Shibuya, an area considered exceptionally chaotic even among the higher planes denizens. That the composer would consent to base his plans for Shibuya's destruction on a game with the conductor shows his unwavering trust in his subordinate. The unification of minds is the natural state of the higher plane. Given time, it might happen throughout the underground. The current UG, however, is not ready. People have erected walls around their minds, dividing their collective consciousness. They coexist independently, like the cells that make up a single human being. While the player pen holds imagination strong enough to pass through those walls, the pen user's own barriers are strengthened. Were that not the case, the incoming flood of other minds could erode at the user's own consciousness. Consequently, those who hold player pins cannot be scanned. Okay, yeah, I mean, it's basically just talking about that bit. Why does individuality exist? This is something the conductor has overlooked. Everything that exists has a purpose. Obsessed with his egotistic protection of Shibuya, the conductor has blinded himself to the facts. With his blind ego funneled into everyone in Shibuya, the city's destruction is not far off. So long as there is individuality, it is impossible to fully eliminate loneliness. There is no such thing as a shared reality. Even people who believe they share a connection are not truly connected. They must actually make contacts, clash, and learn about others through their foreignness. Differences should not be denied. They should be accepted and enjoyed. People must realize this if Shibuya is to be spared from destruction. I'm almost done. Losing my voice reading these, but we're good. I've detected an energy spike here, but Team Minamoto has returned. I judged his revival unlikely after spotting his taboo refinery sigil on the first day, but it appears Minamoto's imagination is much stronger than I'd anticipated. The fallen angel must have completed the array for him. A troubling thought. Who can say what impact this will have on the composer and conductor's game? Minamoto has only one goal now, to find the composer and erase him. Minamoto has been tracking the composer's movements. He must know that the composer frequents this cafe. Chances are he'll pay a visit himself. As for the composer, I have yet to receive any word from him. Could the composer's abilities now be so limited that he cannot even reach me? I may need to contact my selves in the parallel worlds to help search for him. Yowzers! Let me expand on the concept of parallel worlds. Yeah, sure. Why not? In life, reality is made up of the continuous string of choices and the consequences of those choices. Every time a choice is made, the option not selected branches off and exists as its own reality, a parallel world. Countless numbers of such parallel worlds exist within a single plane, be it the RG or the UG, and travel among them is possible through the use of imagination. Theoretically, anyone can jump to a parallel world, but penetrating the membrane between worlds requires uptuning one's vibe. This limits the pool of being able to make the trip. Additionally, stress caused by breaking through the barrier can pull down that traveler's base vibe. If the vibe dips, the frequency may be too low to pass through the barrier. In the worst case, it may render the traveler unable to return to his or her own original world. Conversely, angels are beings meant to jump between worlds, thus such travel is a simple matter. Angels have a higher base vibe than the frequency of the underground, allowing them to leave the UG, then tune their vibe so that they to that of the desired parallel world. So maybe Josh didn't have a way to get back, but something was able to allow him to. I've located the composer. He is in the world where Tinpin Slammer, of all things, reigns supreme. I am off to retrieve him. I guess we got a proper answer there. Oh, I guess also because Mr. H went to retrieve him, which is why he showed up at the end of the game, because he came with Josh, or Josh came with him. Minamoto has definitely targeted the shop, and not with friendly intentions. It is essential that I leave here immediately. I will leave the keypin to the Shibuya River for the proxy. He should know what to do from there. Shibuya's fate has been placed in the proxy's hands. It is no longer safe for me in the UG. My work here is done. All that remains is to retrieve the composer from the parallel world and bring him back to this one. Last one. The composer defeated the conductor. The composer defeated the proxy. However, he has stayed his decision to destroy Shibuya. It seems the course of the game has brought about a change of heart in the composer. Yes, Shibuya persists, but it is no longer in the same city as it was months ago. Instead, a completely new Shibuya has arisen. As the composer has changed, so Shibuya itself has metamorphosized. 1 month previous, Shibuya was plagued with problems dire enough to motivate the composer to destroy it. Today, Shibuya has shifted into what we angels believe to be the optimal parallel world, so it's the best timeline. To complete this puzzle, all of the pieces had to be set in their proper place. If even one was incorrect, the entire picture would would be ruined. Rhyme's selfless display of kindness, Higashizawa's bottomless career ambitions, Kanishi's heart of stone, the conductor's wild actions born from overflowing love, all of these were necessary if Shibuya was to be born anew. There were no extra pieces, no irrelevant components, not even the ramen story. Accept society as an ever-changing thing, and your mind will also become flexible. Individuals will link together and enact changes throughout society. This is the only way to to ride high upon the waves of the ever-changing world. It was no coincidence the composer opted for this simple method in the end. One more page. My gratitude goes out to you all. I greatly look forward to what this new Shibuya will become. Thank you. Alright, we do have another report once we finish this. And I don't know if this one has a report as well, because this is just to do the bonus stuff. But I guess now we'll go back to Secret Day and climb the tower. Definitely going to be more interesting now that we know Mr. H is an angel?